What's going on YouTube? So it's been a few years since Mazda started revamping their entire SUV lineup, as noted by the models with an extra 0 on the end.
And today we're with the model that started it all, the 2025 Mazda CX-30.
But you might be wondering, should you buy this over some of the other Mazda crossovers like the popular CX-5? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so as always, let's start off under the hood. You continue to have two different powertrain options. Since we have the fully loaded model, we have the upgraded 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It makes 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. Now this in itself is a little bit of an advantage over something like the CX-50 because at this price point you would not be able to get the turbocharged engine. Now this is going to be paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission with standard all-wheel drive and 25 miles per gallon combined as your fuel economy rating.
Now, of course, we can't wait to show you the performance of that turbo when we take it out for a drive. We're also going to be getting things like our sound level reading, and after that discussing resale and reliability.
But first, let's go ahead and close up the hood so we can take a look at the exterior as well as the inside. So as far as the front end is concerned for the CX-30, Mazda has a signature design language and it really goes across their entire lineup of SUVs. That means up here in the front, you'll find that signature shape to the grille. We've got the top model, as I mentioned, and that does mean that we've got the smoked chrome finish that's going to go across here. You also have a gloss black finish to the mesh inside of the grille itself. Let's also talk about the headlights. So even though this is the most affordable crossover in their lineup, you do have standard full LED lights on board. These are very premium LED headlights, and on this top model, we also have adaptive abilities as well. And then down below, this is where our turn signal indicator is located. It does have that cool fading animation. Now moving around to the back, obviously the CX-30 is going to have a little bit more of a sloped design than things like the CX-5.
Yeah, but it still has a very premium Mazda look to it, even though it is their most affordable crossover. And part of that premium design is that we have a wiper right here, and mostly are these taillights. Check these out, guys. You're actually going to have a full LED taillight across every version of the CX-30. So that includes your brake light, your turn signal indicator, and even your reverse light. Now, of course, a lot of luxury cars don't even have that, so I'm definitely happy to see that standard on all models. And then as we drop down to this lower fascia, this is going to be finished mostly in black plastic, so do keep that in mind as you choose your paint color. And the vehicle is not rated to tow, and you're going to have dual exposed exhaust outlets.
Now basically every CX-30 you're going to find will have these 18-inch alloy wheels. There are different finishes though, depending on which trim level you choose. As you can see, obviously on this model, we've got the full gloss black finish. You do have quite a bit of cladding that's going to surround your wheel arches as well as the lower part of the body. And then you'll also find the gloss black finish up here on the mirrors for your turbo models. Now most models will also come with heating and blind spot monitoring as well, and you have power tilt down.
Now at the side of the CX-30, this is where you're probably going to notice that this is Mazda's smallest SUV. It actually isn't really all that tall, so you'll notice that a 5'9" person, you kind of stand over top of the SUV. And as far as overall vehicle length, it's about 173 inches long, which is 6 inches shorter than a CX-5. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, Mazda is giving you every single one of those as standard equipment. And if you choose the top-end Turbo Premium Plus, you additionally gain features like a traffic jam support that's dropped down from more expensive products like the CX-90. But guys, I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised about the interior, so let's dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's move to the interior. Here's our signature Mazda key fob. It's got that boxy shape. Your buttons are located over here on the side. You've got a smart entry system on all but the base trim level, so that means you can just walk up to the vehicle, reach behind the handle, and unlock the door. All right, and taking a look at the interior, what Mason was talking about in terms of the pleasant surprise is the fact that the interior is largely the same as the much more expensive Mazda crossover offerings. So let's get into what you get exactly. So here with our Turbo Premium model, this is going to be the trim that gets you a real leather seat. So we have a beautiful leather design on board, lots of perforation and stitching details throughout. You can get a couple different color choices as well. This is kind of the whitish interior with brown accents. It looks very upscale and premium overall. If you want a red interior, you can also get that on a different trim level. Down below, you'll find on all but the base model that you have 8-way power adjusting seats with 2-way lumbar support. We also have memory seats as well, located right there next to the steering wheel. But let's go ahead and get inside. And let's look around at the rest of those materials. Starting out over here on the door trim, we have a really nice brown leather-covered armrest, super padded. We have black leather through the center section and then more of that material through that section as well. Moving to the upper dashboard, this will also be finished in this leather-like material with some more leatherette running through the center part, and you even have padding and stitch details down here along our console. Let's go ahead and fire it up with our push button start. All right, so hopping into some individual details. First of all, we have our gauge cluster. Just like all the Mazda models, you have a lot of different information that you can display on the center 7-inch display. Then the rest of the gauges are traditional analog. This top trim also gives you a nice head-up display. All trims have standard rain-sensing wipers, and as far as the wheel itself, it's manual tilt and telescoping. This fully loaded model gives you steering wheel heating as well. Now sliding back the console there, which allows it to open up, you'll see inside we have some donuts. I'm wearing the shirt today. We have our emblem. It's a donut, obviously, so we put stuffed donuts inside to see how many will fit in there. The answer today is 9. That's very respectable for a subcompact crossover. Up in front of that, you have a couple cup holders, and we have a nice pad up here, which is a wireless phone charger, of course. Moving to our shifter, we have a traditional style one, of course. Bump over here to the left. You can shift manually with the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Heading into reverse, you'll see this standard backup camera appear on all but the very maximum loaded Premium Plus Turbo trim level, which gets a 360 camera. One of the things I'm noticing about this is that it actually does not have active trajectory. And then you, of course, have your electronic parking brake with brake hold back here. Next to that, you have your control knob for the infotainment system. You can also touch the screen in some menus. And then over here next to that, we have a volume knob for our audio system. Now, this model comes with the 12-speaker Bose Performance sound system. We'll go ahead and give it a sample now. Yeah, so overall sound quality is certainly quite good. This is the way to go if you really care about audio quality a lot. Although the standard 8-speaker sound system and 6-speaker sound systems are not bad either. Now let's head into the climate controls. So we got nice simple controls on board for the dual zone automatic setup that you get on all but the base model. Also below that, you have 3-stage heated seats, which are included on most trims as well. Just be aware that if you want ventilated seats, that's not an available option on the CX-30. And then let's move on up here and take a look at our display. While lower trims have an 8.8-inch display, the top trims come with a 10.25-inch display. As you can see right now, I have it loading Android Auto. That's because Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both wireless on these trim levels. And you can touch it when you're inside of this menu, although if you go back to Mazda's infotainment system itself, this does not operate with touchscreen ability. You will have to use that control knob down below. Up top here, we have our auto-dimming mirror. got a little place for your sunglass holder, and of course we do have a sunroof on board. This is included on most trim levels.
But let's go ahead and dive into the CX-30's rear seat and see how much space and luxury you're going to find back here. Now, I will point out, for those of you that are cross-shopping against bigger options like the CX-5 in the Mazda lineup, the CX-50, those types of vehicles will have more space back here. That's going to be one of the areas where this vehicle is starting to lack compared to those models, is just the overall space. Now, as far as legroom, we're looking at 36 inches of legroom, 38 inches of headroom. However, those figures do seem to be a little bit, maybe exaggerated just a little bit, because this seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I'm 5'9" for reference, and I'm only looking at about 3.5 inches of additional knee room, which is pretty small. And the headroom does also feel a little bit on the tighter side, even for someone who is 5'9" like myself. Now, my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat because there's a giant hole down there, so it's pretty comfortable that way. The seats do not recline, so keep that in mind. We do have a nice fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders inside. Heated rear seats are not available. However, I'm happy to tell you that we do have vents here in the center. Also be aware, though, that you have quite a large center tunnel. So here in the middle seat, you will be a little bit uncomfortable and have to spread your legs. Now, over on the door trim, that's going to be mostly hard touch up here on the upper part. However, the middle section is leatherette, as well as a nice padded armrest portion. And the door storage is actually a lot bigger than you might expect. It actually can fit an entire Stanley water bottle. This big Stanley fits perfectly fine in that door trim. Walking up to the tailgate, we do have a power one. That's included if you choose a premium model. And as far as the cargo space back here, this, once again, is going to be a little bit more limited than some of the other Mazda crossovers and some of the competition as well. 20 cubic feet behind the second row of seats. If I reach up here and fold those seats down, they do fold 60-40 split, by the way. And it's quite easy to fold, I will say that. You're going to have a maximum of around 45 cubic feet overall. Now, if you're curious as to how that compares to the CX-5, that is going to be about 15 cubic feet less as a maximum, and around 10 cubic feet less behind the second row of seats. But this is a Car Confections review after all, so I'm going to go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. Now that I've moved the front seat up a little bit past where Drew's 5'8" sitting position is, because be aware the seat is actually not even going to fold at his driving position, so that's something to keep in mind. We are looking at a rather short 62 inches of cargo length behind the driver's seat. Behind Drew's position, I'd probably say about 60 inches, and then behind the second row, 32 inches. Overall cargo opening, 38 inches, and then cargo height is going to be okay at 29 inches. Now, underneath of the floor, we do have a spare tire. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2025 Mazda CX-30. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few things, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, but first we want to go ahead and start with that turbo acceleration. Nice.
Heck yeah. Yeah, these Mazdas with the turbo engines are always so quick feeling, and behind the wheel of the CX-30, you really get that sensation when you choose to have the turbocharged engine, because this is a small body, right? Yeah. And you still get the same power as you do in the other larger Mazda products. 250 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque from a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Those are serious numbers for really any type of vehicle. And we talk about how this in a way kind of competes with luxury subcompact crossovers, and that kind of is the main way that it does that, because many of the luxury offerings don't even have quite that much power.
Yeah, and compare it to really its own segment, the mainstream subcompacts, and this absolutely blows everything else out of the water. I mean, most of those vehicles are excruciatingly slow, and as we were talking about this off camera, but as the prices have risen in that segment, a Honda HR-V fully loaded is, $32,000. The price difference between, this turbo Mazda CX-30 and one of those mainstream rivals that are excruciatingly slow is becoming less and less. Now, I do want to point out, for those of you that don't want to spend quite as much money to get a turbo, you do have a standard 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine. That's making 191 horsepower, 186 pound-feet of torque, and definitely that model will, of course, save you some money, but even then, that's quite a bit more powerful than most of the other subcompact crossovers that you would be cross-shopping it with. 190 horsepower is really what you get in a segment above the compact crossover class. So I'm definitely happy to say that really regardless of which Mazda CX-30 you're choosing, it will be a better powertrain experience than what you find in most of the other competition.
The torque on this is crazy.
Love it.
This really does put a smile on your face. Also, the engine itself kind of has like a deeper sound. So it doesn't sound, like a 4-cylinder in the traditional sense. Now, as far as the other aspect of the powertrain, let's go on and talk about that. We have a 6-speed automatic transmission. Of course, if you're familiar with Mazda products, you're probably familiar with this transmission. It's in most of their models. And overall performance is perfectly fine. We say the same thing. It's a very smooth transmission. You have enough torque that you don't really need the extra gears per se, but you might experience a few slower shifts because it is an older transmission.
Yeah. Now, as far as how the power is routed to the ground, I'm happy to tell you that the CX-30 is all-wheel drive exclusive. That's standard even on the very base version of this vehicle. That, of course, helps you put power down with this turbo model. And that means, as far as fuel economy is concerned, you have two different ratings, 25 mpg combined if you choose the turbo model. If you choose the regular output version, that's going to be 29 mpg. So you do get a 4 mpg penalty when you choose the turbo, so that's something to keep in mind. But overall, your fuel economy is not too bad for being really the most powerful option in the entire segment. But now that we finally cleared out of a little bit of traffic here, we're just cruising down the highway, I want to talk about overall ride quality. Now, one of the things I do love about the CX-30 is that the ride quality is good. Now, when you compare it to other Mazda crossovers like the CX-5, I'd say it's very similar to that overall ride experience, which is a compliment because in this subcompact segment, most of them don't ride very good at all. So I have to say, very pleasantly surprised with the ride on this. The seats I also find to be quite comfortable. All right, we're speeding up to 55 quickly. To get our sound level reading, I've went ahead and put it on fan speed 1, so let's go ahead and get the reading and see how quiet it is in here. 57 decibels. It kept dropping on me there, so I gave it a little bit longer. 57 decibels even is what we're sitting at for this 2025 Mazda CX-30 in its higher end trim levels. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the competition, though. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings. And on our website, we posted all the cars that this competes with. Well, cheers to consistency. That actually ties what we tested the Mazda CX-30 at 2 years ago when we got the sound level reading, and it does make it one of the quietest options in the segment. It's not quite the quietest, but it's one of the quieter choices, that's for sure, which once again matches with the overall premium experience that you're going to find in here. And I think that's a great segue into our Slam Dunk and Airball. Our Slam Dunk today has easily just got to be the luxury that you find in the CX-30. This is truly one of those vehicles that it feels like you're a class above. You shut the doors, it's solid, there's a lot of great materials going on in this cabin. You really just feel like you're in a lot more expensive of a product than you are.
Yeah, and then on the Airball side of things, it's going to be very simply the amount of space. We've checked the stats. This is the smallest in the subcompact crossover segment. It is also, of course, smaller than the CX-5 that we've been kind of comparing this to by a pretty decent margin. One thing, though, that is the same as those other Mazdas is still having that nice emphasis on overall driving dynamics. So when you go around a corner, like I just did there, you have, very little body roll. The other thing I really like is the steering. You know, outside of, say, like BMW, the steering is one of the best in the entire auto industry. It's just so responsive. It has a nice heft to it as well.
And lastly, when it comes to your warranty, you do have Mazda's signature setup, which is a 3-year, 36,000-mile basic warranty. You do also have 5 years and 60,000 miles for your powertrain. Now let's discuss pricing for the 25 CX-30. Good news is that prices didn't rise much this year, about $250 is all. We started under 25 grand for the base S model. Keep in mind, standard all-wheel drive as well. Now, if you want the top model, like what we have today, or one of the top models, the Turbo Premium, we have a starting price of around $35,140, and after our destination charge of $1,420, we're looking at $36,560 as tested today. Now, if you'd like to buy a Mazda CX-30 or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a car is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's discuss resale and reliability. So first up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Mazda CX-30. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 59.4% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 25%. Now, it's worth noting that is one of the best overall resale value by percent. It's actually in the top 5 of all brands that we look at. Really, only brands that are better are Honda and Toyota.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. What this does is take into account several studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that paints a more holistic picture. In this regard, Mazda is rated almost exactly at the industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values or reliability data, as well as our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle banks. Well, guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the 2025 Mazda CX-30. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews, such as this, and you're also going to get access to comparisons, automotive news, and all the in-between. I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.